What's going on, everybody? Lil Chris here to bring you another APA 8-Ball League match of mine. And this is the last one that I have of last session where I'm always trying to make the 8-ball on the break. And in this matchup here, I'm playing up against another skill level 7. Not only is he a skill level 7, but he's also considered to be a super 7, just like myself. So I hope this is going to be a good match for everybody to enjoy. So let's see how I do. Okay, I won the coin flip, so I'm going to start this race off. And like I mentioned before, I'm always going to be trying to make the 8-ball on the break. And since I like to break from what would be my left side of the table, or from y'all's viewpoint, the top side of the table, I'm expecting the 8-ball to fall into the bottom side pocket. But more times than not, I've seen a ball come out of the rack and kick the 8-ball towards the top side of the side pocket. But let's see how this first break goes. Oh, and the 8-ball almost got kicked in by the cue ball into the bottom side pocket. But I did end up with a dry break, and you can also see that mess that we have over there by the top side rail. You can even see my opponent. He's like, what are we going to do with this? So you can probably expect to see a lot of safeties during this rack. Now, let's see what my opponent is going to start off with. Because offhand, it looks like he only can see maybe the 5-ball. I can't really tell if he can see the 11-ball, or enough of the 11-ball. But he does take the 5-ball down, making him solids, and I'll be stripes. So I've got my work cut out for me if I'm going to try to get all those stripes out of that clutter. So let's see what he's going to do next. He can obviously hit the 3-ball, but it doesn't look like he can do anything with it. It's like he's deep in thought on this one. What do you think y'all would do in this situation if you're solids? Okay, looks like he's about to do something here. Okay, definitely some sort of safety clipping the 3-ball. Probably wanted to send the cue ball over towards the bottom rail there, or the left rail, but leaves me a shot here. My first opening shot is I'm going to try to combo the 14 ball into the 11 ball. And I'm successful here. And then now my main objective is to try to slowly but surely get these stripes out of the clutter and leave his solids in the clutter. So what I actually try to do here is billiard the cue ball off of the 13 ball and go into the 14, but I wasn't expecting the 13 ball to come back and hit the cue ball so soon. I would have wanted them to be a little bit more spread apart, but at least the 13 ball and the 14 ball is out in the open. So now I still got to get my 9 ball, my 12 ball, and my 15 ball out. And those are cluttered up next to my opponent's 2 ball, 1 ball, and 7 ball. Okay, looks like he's going to shoot the 3 ball. Might have tried to break out his 7 ball there, just didn't get much action on the cue ball there going into my 13. But now my 13 ball is cluttered back up. So he can obviously shoot the 4 ball or the 6 ball. Now, he either really overcut that ball or intentionally brought the 6 ball back up table because he's got to figure out how to get his 2, 1, and 7 out. So it doesn't really do him any good to try to make the 6 ball. So I'm betting he did that on purpose. Now, all I'm going to try to do is just bump any of the stripes out into the open. I think I play the cue ball right into the 15 ball and then bump my 13 ball out into the open. This kind of forces him to either play his 6 ball or just push the 2 ball into the clutter, which hopefully should free out my stripes again. So there's another safety. You're pretty much going to see me answer back with another safety. I might be able to push my 15 ball out into the open. And that's what I do. So my 9 ball is right in front of the cue ball, or it's behind his 2 ball, and his 1 ball is next to that along with the 7. So he goes ahead and takes the 6 out, and looks like he might try to free his 7 ball. That's what he does. So now it looks like I might be able to free my 12 ball, but it looks like I'm going to try to free my 10 ball instead. So it looks like I'm going to clip the 9 ball. You can see I have a lot of left spin on the cue ball, so I'm trying to pull the cue ball back to the left side of the table, or at least towards the head string. Now things are a little bit more out in the open for both my opponent and myself here. But now we're all trying to clutter things back up towards the corner pocket. You can see one safety battle after another. So what do I try to do here? Is this a 3-ball combination? Yeah, I think that's what I was trying. I think I was trying to make the 14 ball by doing a 3-ball combination. That would at least allow the 13 ball to also block the corner pocket as well. So as you can see, though, I do have that corner pocket very well covered. Okay, looks like he's going to shoot the 2 ball. Fires it into the upper left corner pocket, has position on the 7, and he's probably going to knock my 14 in. That's what he does. Doesn't really leave me much to work with. It looks like I can see the 15 ball. I think I try to make it into the bottom side pocket here on this shot. Oh, but I end up undercutting the ball and barely missing the side pocket. So the question becomes, if my opponent tries to take his 7 ball out, will he be able to free his 1 ball? Because if not, it's not really to his advantage to try to take the 7 ball out now. And I can't really tell how thin of a cut shot it is on that 4 ball to play into the bottom right corner pocket. His main concern is going to be the 1 ball, which it looks like he tried to break out and was unsuccessful. So now from this position, it looks like I have the advantage because it does look like my 13 ball can go into that pocket. Oh, but my opponent tries to kick in his 7 ball, which would have freed his 1 ball, but he ends up fouling, hitting my 13 ball first. You can see me double checking to make sure that I have ball in hand, and all of my stripes are wide out into the open. So now it's just a matter of choosing my pattern and how I'm going to try to end this rack. So here's where I can open a question and say, what pattern would y'all choose? Because there's multiple patterns that could be done here. So let's see here. It looks like I'm playing the 10 ball into the top side pocket, and I just hold position there with a little bit of bottom spin. Or I should say I played a stop shot. So here I'm probably just going to gently roll this 12 ball in, maybe change my mind. And I do change my mind. I go for the 13 instead. Looks like I have a little bit of topspin on the cue ball, so the cue ball should be rolling forward. Push it over to the side rail and back out to the middle of the table. Now it looks like I have a bit of a cut angle on the 12 ball, and you can see the bottom spin I have on the cue ball, so I must be trying to pull it back for the 9 ball to go into the same pocket. Just like that, and that means the 15 ball will be going into the bottom side pocket, and the 8 ball will be going into the bottom left corner pocket. A little bit of a thin cut shot on the 15 ball, but not a big deal. I can just push the cue ball over to the short rail and back out to play the 8 ball into the bottom left corner pocket like I had said. So I have a little bit of bottom left spin on this cue ball. So that way I can kill the angle off of the short rail and have this shot here. So you can see both my opponent and I agreed to just call the 8 ball, and I take the first rack down 1-0. And here we go with rack 2. So I lose a little control of the cue ball as it almost made its way around the rack, but it gets kicked towards the foot spot. I did see that I dropped a solid on the break. It looks like it was the 2 ball. And right there you can see I'm already wondering, what am I going to do with that 4 ball? So y'all have heard me say this before. The first thing I try to do is identify my trouble spots on the table, which happens to be the 4 ball. So now the next thing I'm trying to figure out is to construct a pattern that's going to allow me to deal with it as soon as possible. The closest ball that might allow me to break it out is the 3 ball. But I don't want to cut it right now because that's a really thin cut shot to try to have the cue ball come off the side rail and then back over to break out the 4. So instead, I decide to shoot the 1 ball into the bottom left corner pocket with a little bit of bottom left spin so I can hold position and reposition myself back onto the 3 ball. Now I didn't want to get straight in, which I'm not, thankfully. I have a little bit of a cut angle so I can shoot the 3 ball into the bottom right corner pocket, and with a little bit of top spin and some left spin, I can push the cue ball over to the side rail and try to have the side spin come over and break out the 4 ball. But as you can see, I didn't have enough left spin and I missed the breakout, so I'm going to have to try to do it again. So here I start looking around. You'll see a point where I'll come over by the top side pocket and take a look at the 5 ball because I was thinking about cutting the 5 ball into the side pocket, but the cut shot was too thin and I thought it was a little too risky to try to break out the 4 ball with the 5 ball at this angle. So I shoot the 7 ball into the bottom left corner pocket, and with some top left spin, I tried to reposition myself back onto the 5 ball just by having the cue ball to be a little bit closer to the rail, but not that close. I still have a cut angle on the 5 ball, so I am going to shoot the 5 ball and try to break out the 4 ball because now I'm in dire need of breaking out that 4 ball. It does not go past the 10 ball. So I'm going to cut the 5 ball into the bottom side pocket. I'm going to elevate a little bit higher so I can dig into the cue ball and have some left spin on the cue ball because the cue ball will be going to the short rail again. So right there you can see I'm elevating a little bit higher so I can dig into the cue ball. And I missed the breakout again. So I have one more chance to try to break this out. I can try to cut the 6 ball into the side pocket, and the cue ball naturally wants to head towards the 4, 10, and the 13, so I'm hopefully going to be able to break it out this time. Because if I don't, then more than likely I'm going to lose this rack. So I missed the 6 ball, and I missed the breakout, and I even scratched. So this is not the position that I want to be in up against this type of an opponent with ball in hand, and there are no obstacles on the table for him. So let's see what he's going to do. If I had to guess, it's either going to be the 12 ball or the 10 ball. If he shoots the 12 ball now, which is what he's going to do, that frees up the 9 ball to go into the same pocket. Okay, now it looks like he can shoot the 14 ball into the top side pocket. He'll get natural position on the 10 ball, so I'm wondering if the 10 ball is going to be next. No, it looks like he's going to shoot the 11 ball instead. Okay, this gives him position on the 13 ball. He can just roll this in. That'll give him position on either the 10 or the 15 next. Okay, so the gap between the 4 ball and the rail to the 10 must be bigger than it looks on this camera. So he's going to shoot the 15 in with some draw. Now he has to be shooting the 10 ball, and he's going to use the 9 ball as the last ball before the 8 ball. Yeah, and at this level, this is something that you do not want to do, to where I tried to run the entire table right after the break and failed multiple times to break out that 4 ball. And since I ran all the way to the end and was not able to finish the table, more times than not, if I'm playing up against another skill level 7 like myself, I'm going to lose this rack. And there you have it. My opponent takes that one down, and we're now tied 1-1. Now going into rack 3, my opponent has his first opportunity at the break. You can see there my opponent is also trying to do an 8 ball on the break by striking the ball that's in the second row. But he does come up dry, almost scratches into the bottom side pocket, but really doesn't leave me much since the cue ball is actually hooked behind the point. So I'm not going to be able to shoot at the 2 ball or the 10 ball. The 1 ball is actually blocked enough by the 8 ball, so I can't shoot that into the top side pocket. The only ball I can actually see is this 3 ball. So I am going to choose solids on this one. So you can see here with how close I am to the rail, I do have some topspin on this 3 ball, so I'm going to try to shoot it into the bottom right corner pocket and allow the cue ball to just gently roll forward. I'm pretty sure I was trying to get position on the 5 ball, but the cue ball rolls a little too far, obviously. So now I'm going to shoot the 7 into the bottom side pocket. So here I am trying to do a drag shot to try to hold the cue ball as much as I can for the 2 ball, but you can see that the cue ball rolls a little too far. I could possibly try to cut it into the bottom left corner pocket, but I don't really like that. I start to look at the 5 ball, but then realize I can't see enough of the 5 ball in order to make the 5 and possibly break out the 6. So that's why you see me lining up the 2 ball for a bank shot in the cross corner pocket. I'm going to try to shoot it into the top left corner pocket, so that way I can hopefully get position on the 5 ball with a little bit of draw and have the position I want to be able to make the 5 and break out the 6. But even with that shot, I didn't get the position that I was wanting. I needed the cue ball to come back just a little bit more than what it actually did. I think I could see the 5 ball, I can hit the 5 ball, but it would end up being an overcut, and I wouldn't be able to make it at all. So I think here I like to play safe, since I know I'm not going to try to make the same mistake that I made on the previous rack where I tried to just run everything and then just failed and lost the rack from there. So that's why you see me kind of just fling my cue across, because like I'm thinking to myself, if I got the position on the 5 ball, I could have possibly finished the rack from here, but I can't. So if memory serves correctly, I think I hit the 6 ball. And you can see I have some bottom spin on the cue ball because I am going to try to pull the cue ball down into the pocket there. And I'm actually lucky that that stripe actually dropped, because then otherwise my opponent would have an easier shot to choose from. Now with my opponent coming to the table, he essentially doesn't have a shot, so he's going to have to respond with the safety of his own. The only thing I'm going to have to worry about is getting the 4 ball out of the way so that way the 6 ball can also access the top right corner pocket. So you can see the safety that my opponent tries to play. He clips his 15 ball very thin and sends the cue ball on the other side. And I think here, I couldn't remember if I could see the 1 ball enough or see enough of the 1 ball without risking hitting the 8 ball. That's why you see me getting down like this to try to look. And I'm guessing that I still can't hit it cleanly. So here I'm actually looking at the 4 ball. And I can't really quite remember if I was trying to break out the 6 or if I was trying to break the 1 away from the 8 ball, because you can see how the cue ball hits the short rail and then just starts heading back towards the middle of the table. So I kind of feel like I was probably wanting to try to break out the 1 ball. But now, with this angle that I have on the 5 ball, if I remember correctly, it appeared that I probably could have cut it. But then I would have a high risk of hitting the stripe as well. So I didn't want to bother calling someone to come and watch to see if I was going to do a legal hit. So instead, I tried to do another safety here by just making sure that I'm going to hit the 5 ball first and gently pushing it over towards that corner pocket, basically setting it up. So here you see it looks like my opponent's going to try to shoot the 11 ball into the top right corner pocket, but then he hesitates. And it looks like he changes his mind to shoot the 15 instead. Okay, successful shot there. I think that's his 12 ball that he pushed down table. He now has position on that. Getting position back onto the 11 ball could be a little tricky. Okay, shoots the 12 ball in. Looks like he has position on the 10. That's going to be his next ball. More than likely get position from the 9 or for the 9. And then what do we do here? Do we try to get position on the 11? Puts a little bit of inside spin. I think that's what he's going for, but he overhits the ball. Looks like he did a little bit of a masse shot to go around his 11 ball and make contact with the 14 ball. Pretty much to keep the 6 ball locked up, I think is why he did that. When he could have clearly just hit the 11 ball, but then that would separate my 6 ball. So now I have a shot at my 1 ball to go into the side pocket. I'm actually going to try to break out the 6 if I can. You can see I'm successful, and then I unluckily make the 5 ball. That is clearly not what I wanted to happen. I wanted the 6 ball to get broken apart, but I didn't want to drop the 5 ball. So at this point here, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? Do you try to play defensive when there's really nothing for you to hide behind? The only thing I could do is leave the cue ball on the short rail and give my opponent a shot at the 14 ball. That is an option that I could have done. But I've been in this situation multiple times, and more times than not, I end up trying to go for it. So you see me looking here. I am looking to kick at the top rail and try to make the 6 into the bottom right corner pocket, but then I change my mind and go to this rail instead and try to kick it into the top right corner pocket. This is one of those that if I'm successful at doing this, I more than likely should be able to have some type of shot at the 8-ball. But as you can see, I'm unsuccessful. And this is still kind of the same thing, right? I left a not so easy shot for my opponent. He can either cut the 11 ball into the bottom right corner pocket. He's kind of flirting with scratching near the 8 ball, or he can shoot the 14 ball into the bottom left corner pocket. You can see he gently rolls the ball. You can see where the cue ball was heading towards that side pocket, so he hits it with enough pace just to leave him towards the middle of the table. And now he's got to try to cut this 14 ball into the bottom left corner pocket. But he ends up overcutting the ball. And now here I am with a full table length shot from corner pocket to corner pocket. And if memory serves correctly, I think I was actually practically straight in on the shot. So you see me elevate my cue. I have a lot of draw on this cue ball. I think I'm just trying to draw it straight back. But I wasn't expecting it to draw straight back like that. That actually amazed me. I wanted to draw it back to where I could just shoot the 8-ball into the side pocket, but I did not think that I would hit it with enough bottom span and as full as I did to be able to draw behind the 8-ball in order to shoot it into the top right corner pocket, because that's where I'm calling it. And I'm successful with that rack, and I take the lead 2-1. Now going into rack 4, it's my break again. So this time I do lose control of the cue ball. It goes completely around the rack and then gets kicked down here back towards the head string. I did drop both a solid and a stripe, so I still have an open table. So when I observed the table here, I think the only two shots that I saw was the 9-ball in the side pocket and the 6-ball in the top right corner pocket. And the only reason why I didn't choose the 6-ball was because I didn't like trying to get position on any other ball after the 6-ball. So instead I chose the 9-ball in the side pocket. I just roll this in, a little bit of an above center hit just so the cue ball can automatically start rolling right after contact and get position on the 10-ball. So really my only concern is going to be is those 3 stripes that are in the middle, which looks like the 11-ball, the 12-ball, and the 15-ball. Because here I just play a stop shot on the 10-ball so I can have position on the 14-ball. And now you're going to see me come here and decide, well, where do I want to be? Do I want to be there, there, or there? Because the first position at least allows me access to the 11-ball to go into the side pocket. And then the other one allows me to shoot the 15-ball. But then for some reason, I decide to try to thread the needle and get the cue ball to come in between the 6 and the 11. But I wasn't supposed to touch the 6-ball because that ruins my position that I have on the 11. If I didn't touch the 6-ball and came completely through, I should be able to shoot the 11-ball into the top right corner pocket and then get position on the 15-ball. That at least was the idea. But clipping the 6-ball the way that I did puts me in a thinner cut shot position that I would want. And what I actually try to do here now is flare the cue ball 3 rails. I'm going to shoot the 11-ball into the top right corner pocket. You're not going to actually see what I put on the cue ball because I'm blocking the camera. But I do have a little bit of bottom and a lot of left spin. And I want the cue ball to contact the side rail, spin down table, hit the short rail, contact the other side rail, and then come back up to where hopefully I should still have position on the 15-ball. But you can see my route was not as accurate as it needs to be, and I missed the position. So now what I'm looking at is seeing that I have a carom shot where I can try to play the 12 ball off the 15 to go towards the bottom right corner pocket and hopefully fall. So didn't even hit it with enough pace, but I didn't want to flare the cue ball around on that shot. So now it's my opponent's turn. And just like with before, there are no obstacles for my opponent to deal with. So unless my opponent does something careless, this rack is not looking good for me. So it looks like he starts with the 5 ball in the side pocket. Now has position on the 6 ball or the 1 ball. And he's choosing the 6. Plays a bit of a stop shot there. He now has position on the, I think he could see the 4 ball, maybe not. But no, he goes for the 3 instead. A little bit of drawback for position on the 1. Okay, it looks like another stop shot for the 4 ball. 7 ball is going to end up being his last ball that he has to use to get position on the 8 ball. So let's see how he plays position from the 4 to the 7. Looks like he just stuns it over to the side rail. He looks to be a little straight in. He would have wanted some sort of an angle. Let's see what he does here. Yeah, kind of stun draws it back towards the middle of the table, but not enough, because I would think he would want to shoot the 8 ball into the top right corner pocket, but because of the angle that he has here, he has to cut it into the bottom right corner pocket. He doesn't really have to worry about the scratch. The cut is thin enough to where the tangent line doesn't make it anywhere near, and he is successful, and we're retied back up 2-2. Now going into rack 5, it looks like my opponent's going to do more of a head-on break from the middle of the table. So let's see how this goes. Pretty square hit. Looks like the cue ball gets kicked around by a couple of other balls, but my opponent breaks dry. So here I come to the table. Doesn't look like I have much to start with, but I do decide to take stripes, starting with the 9 ball. So I think I just try to roll this in to the bottom right corner pocket, so that way the cue ball just kind of drifts over to the side rail and back out. That allows me to play the 14 ball into the side pocket. You can see that the 11 ball is kind of an issue. So I'm actually creating a pattern where I'm going to deal with it as soon as possible, which is shooting the 14. Then I'm going to play the 10 ball into the top left corner pocket and come around to where I can shoot the 11 ball into the same side pocket that I just shot the 14. I think all I'm doing right here is checking to make sure where exactly I want that cue ball to end up when I shoot the 11 ball into the side pocket. Because with the wrong cut angle, my cue ball can actually run into the 7 ball and I won't be able to really move the cue ball after that. So I have some top spin on this cue ball, and I do think I have a touch of left spin, so that way the cue ball spins a little bit off of the short rail. And then now from here, I should be able to push through the 11 ball, and I'm probably going to graze the 7 ball as well. But then that should still allow me to get position on, I think, the 13 ball. Actually get a little lucky and get a little love from the 4 ball. So I can either shoot the 12 ball or the 13 ball. Let's see, what do I decide to do? Looks like I'm going to shoot the 12 ball. I can see some topspin on the cue ball, so I'm probably going to come around the 15 ball and shoot that into the same pocket. Probably wanted the cue ball to move a little bit more because now the cue ball is going to run into the 6 ball. So I got to make sure that the 6 ball gets out of my way, and that's why I hesitate. I would have rather have the cue ball come a little bit longer so that way my cut angle is not as thin. That way I can just push the cue ball past the 6 ball without touching it, and then probably be able to cut the 13 ball into the side pocket or play it into the top left corner pocket. At least now from this angle here, I have to make sure that the 6 ball stays out of my way. So just like that, and you can see the 6 ball almost got back in my way, but I hit it with enough pace to where it doesn't. And now I think from here, I just draw off of the 13 ball so that way I don't, I might run into the 2, but I don't. It just drifts past the 2, and you can see I have a clear path to the 8 ball into the bottom right corner pocket, and because my opponent broke dry, I was able to run the table from there. and I retake the lead 3-2. Now going into rack 6, let's see if I can hold on to the lead. So that time I got the cue ball to behave. He saw it go over to the side rail and come back and hit the rack again. I did see that the 3 ball fell on the break, so I'm going to be solids. So already I'm starting to wonder, what am I going to do with the 5 and the 7 ball? And considering where the cue ball is currently at, I can only start with the 2 ball. I can cut the 2 ball into the bottom right corner pocket, and because of how thin the cut shot is, I don't think I can actually hold position for the 1 ball. So I do believe the cue ball comes back towards the middle of the table. Oh, especially since I ran into the 1 ball. So I now have position on the 6. And right there, there's me contemplating, what am I going to do with the 5 and the 7? So y'all should know how I work by now. I've identified my trouble spot and I try to deal with it as soon as I can. It would do me no good to make the 6, possibly the 4 next, and then possibly the 1, only to have to make a critical shot with the 5 and 7. So I'm actually going to try to do something with the 5 and 7 right now by trying to power draw off the 6 and break the 5 and 7 out. But something funny happens. Whee! And the cue ball flies completely off the table with a very serious miscue. There I am. I'm cleaning off the chalk that actually ends up on the cue ball because of the miscue and just leaving it for my opponent. In retrospect, I probably should not have tried to power draw it. I think I should have just drew it back far enough with some sort of an angle to where I probably could have played a combination on the 5 and the 7 rather than trying to break the 7 out. So now at this point, I think my opponent went to use the bathroom, so I'm actually going to fast forward a bit. And there he is. So he's got ball in hand, and he's got quite a mess to deal with as well. It looks like he's going to start with the 12 ball on the side. No, maybe not. Okay, maybe the 13 ball in the top left corner pocket. You see he's got some topspin on the cue ball. He's got to be wanting to move the 12 as well. And that's what he does. Is the 12 ball next? No, it looks like the 10 ball might be next. Okay, kind of drifts down table. I think he might have drifted a little too far. I think he wanted position on the 15 ball, but he does have a shot at the 11. Okay, here we go. Looks like he's going to be drawing the cue ball for position on the 15. Good shot there. Kind of overdrew the cue ball. Now he has to back cut the 15 ball into the bottom left corner pocket. This looks like it'll bring the cue ball either into my 1 ball or maybe he'll try to go around it. Okay, he does hit my 1 ball. Now has position on the 9 ball. So I'd have to think he'd want to try to get position on the 14 ball next from here. Nope, looks like he was trying to get position on the 12, but I don't think he got it. By getting position on the 14, I meant by going to the short rail like you did, but coming around with right spin to the bottom side rail and then back out towards the middle of the table for position on the 14. That's at least what I was thinking. So this looks like it's going to be a combination. And my opponent was unsuccessful. Now I'm back at the table, and I still have my work cut out for me. The 5 and the 7 are still tied up, so not entirely sure what I'm going to do there. The 6 and the 1, they look to be okay. I think they both can go towards the bottom left corner pocket, and the 4 ball is sitting fine, having access to both the bottom and top left corner pockets. So I actually think since I can't figure out how to do something with the 5 and 7, I play a safety here. So what I try to do is clip the 7 ball and send it over to the short rail, and my cue ball is going to go to the side rail, and then with a little bit of right spin, I'm going to try to spin it behind the 5 ball. You can see I was going to make it there, but then the 7 ball actually blocks it. So my opponent does have a shot at his 14 ball. He should be able to try to cut this into the bottom left corner pocket, and the cue ball naturally can go over towards the side rail and then back out and have position on the 12 in the opposite corner pocket. We're going to have to put a little bit of draw on this cue ball so he can hopefully hit the second diamond. And that should give him position on the 12. Tries to fire it in there, but he undercuts the ball. So it doesn't leave me much. His 14 ball blocks my way, excuse me, to the 4, 5, and 7. All I have is this 6-1 combination, and this 6-1 combination is not easy. I have to back cut the 6 in order to cut the 1 ball into the side pocket. And as you can see here, I'm playing a two-way shot. Now, I got lucky that my two-way shot ended up this good, because I wasn't expecting to actually hold the cue ball behind the 4 ball like that. I wanted the cue ball to at least be behind the 4 ball, but I expected it to be like in the middle between the 4 and the 5 and not land as good as I did. So my opponent comes out with a 2-rail kick shot, makes a legal hit on the 14 ball. Now I'm back at the table. Don't really like this shot I have on the 6 ball, because it's the only shot that I have, though a 4 ball blocks the 1 ball. So I think I tried to gently play this 6 ball into the side pocket. The cue ball will just naturally roll forward into the side rail and come back towards the middle of the table, towards the head string. Kind of like that. That at least gives me position on the 1 ball, I think, to go into the top right corner pocket. And you can see I put some draw on the cue ball because I want to pull the cue ball over to the side rail. That'll automatically come back out and have position for either the 5 or the 7. Might even have position on the 4 to go into the top side pocket. You can see I can pretty much do either one. I think right here, this is where I decide what the rest of my pattern was actually going to be based on how I got position. So you can see I'm going to shoot the 7 ball into the corner pocket and come back out for position on the 5. There I was looking to see what type of position I want to have on the 4 ball. And then here I'm actually thinking about changing my mind, but I decided to stick with the original plan, and that's to shoot the 5 ball. So you saw originally I looked at the corner pocket, or the bottom left corner pocket for the 4 ball, but then I contemplated the side pocket for the 4 ball. So here I just try to roll the 5 ball into the top right corner pocket. I don't want to be stuck on the rail. So the cue ball comes out enough. And I don't think I had an angle to where I can draw the cue ball on the other side of the side pocket and shoot the 8 ball into the top right. Or do I? Never mind, I did. So that not necessarily a draw shot, but pretty much a stun shot where the cue ball can just drag its way over there along the tangent line, and I can shoot the 8 ball into the top right corner pocket. And I'm able to maintain the lead, and I'm now on the hill, 4-2. Now in rack 7, can I close it out? Let's see how this goes. Okay, got the cue ball to behave again, hit the rack twice, but I end up with a dry break. My opponent comes to an open table, and it looks like if I were him, I'm choosing solids, and that's what he does. Looks like he's going to start with the 5 ball. Okay, takes out the 3 next, comes towards the middle of the table. Okay, takes the 1 out, brings the cue ball back. Looks like he's got position for the 7 ball to go into the side pocket. Gonna have to just roll this in since he is on the rail like that. Pushes the cue ball forward. Now has position on the 6 ball. I don't think he's going to want to shoot the 4 ball having to bridge over the 2. Goes and at least looks at it. The thing about shooting the 6 is making sure he comes around the table so he can shoot either the 2 ball or the 4 ball next. So here comes the cue ball. That was a good shot. So it looks like he's got some sort of an angle where he's going to stun the cue ball over to the short rail and use some right spin to bring it back for position on the 4, just like that. Very well done. Now, what does he do with the 8 ball? It looks like all of my stripes block the top left and bottom left pockets. Not sure what that measurement was. Oh, power draws back through all of the stripes. He at least has position for the top right corner pocket. Ah, and he was able to take it down all from my dry break. That now makes the score 4-3. Now going into rack 8, I lost the opportunity to close the match out with that dry break. But let's see if I can get it back on this one. Okay, good break from my opponent, breaking from the other side of the table this time. He did drop a solid on the break. And it looks like he's going to open with a 6-1 combination. Good shot. That pretty much sets him up for a 5-2 combination. And that was a good shot. He makes sure he hits that 5-2 combination hard enough so that way the 5 ball can push forward more and not be stuck behind the 11 and the 10 ball. He now has position on the 5 ball, or he could shoot the 7. But he chooses the 5. Cue ball bumps into my 12 ball, and that's going to force him to shoot the 6 ball into the side pocket. And I think the cue ball rolled just a little too far. I think it would have been ideal to shoot the 3 ball next and then use the 7 ball to get position on the 8. But now he has to play the 7 ball into the side pocket. Automatically will have position on the 3 ball. And as long as he can get the cue ball past the 13 ball so he can shoot the 8 in the side pocket, this is looking like to be a break and run. And that's exactly what he does. Very well done by my opponent, and all because of a dry break. We're now tied up 4-4 going into the final rack. And here we are all tied up 4-4 going into the final rack. Who's going to win it? Oh gosh, look at that 8 ball. Oh man, I got so lucky there because that would have been terrible to lose a 4-2 lead from a dry break, rack and run, break and run, and then an 8 ball break. But my opponent did break dry. As you can see, I don't really have much to work with. So you're going to see me look around for a bit as I desperately try to find something. But I end up not. So I tried to play a defensive shot here by banking the 10 ball off of the short rail and have it tie up next to the 2 ball. But it bumps into the 2 in such a way to where my opponent now has a free shot at the 10 ball to claim stripes. I don't know if you can tell because the scoreboard's probably in the way, but my opponent's waiting for the player on the next table to shoot. There we go, and he does take stripes. Cue ball bumps into his 12 ball and ties up next to my 1 ball. Now it looks like he's going to have to shoot the 13 ball. But he undercuts the ball. Now I'm going to get to come back to the table. I have an opportunity to shoot the 2 ball. If I remember correctly, I think all I did was just stun off of the 2 ball. My cue ball bumps into the 7 ball and then ties up next to my 4 ball, and you can see I don't like it. Looking back at this in retrospect, I probably should have tried to use a little bit of topspin and have the cue ball run into the 3 ball instead of touching the 7 ball. So now here, if I remember correctly, I play a defensive shot. I'm just going to bank the 7 ball off of the side rail and have the cue ball hide behind the 9 ball. And I actually didn't get far enough behind the 9 ball because my opponent can see his 12 ball. And his 12 ball does go. It blocks my 1 ball from going, but the 12 ball does have a path to the bottom right corner pocket. You can see that's what my opponent plays. He now has position on the 11 ball. So I'll probably cut this to the side pocket and get position for the 9. Looks to be a little straight in on this 9 ball, so he's probably going to have to follow forward, maybe all the way up for a position on the 13. I don't think the 14 ball passes. He could probably fall far enough to where he can have position on the 15. No, but he goes all the way up for the 13. Okay, he plays rail first so he can try to get decent position on the 14 ball, but he does come a little short. With this type of cut angle, I'm not sure how he's going to maintain position for the 15 ball next. Tries to slow roll it in, but hit it too hard. You can see there he's measuring up for a kick shot, finds the midpoint between the cue ball and his last ball. Makes a good hit and almost kicks it in. Leaves the cue ball good though, because I don't really have a shot, or at least a shot that I'm willing to risk. I don't like the 7 ball to the side pocket. The side pocket's actually pretty thin. So I actually try to play another safety. I just shoot the cue ball into the 3 and try to hold it behind the 7 ball. And truth be told, I actually thought I was safe. Right? Look at the camera angle. It looks safe. But what you don't see here is when my opponent comes around, he actually gives me a fist bump. And I actually thought he was telling me, good defensive shot. Watch what happens. Turns out he could see it, and he almost knocks in the 8 ball. That would have been a tough way to lose, but for me, that's even a tougher way for me to lose. I thought I had a defensive shot, and I later found out he comes and tells me that he gave me a fist bump to tell me good game because he could actually see the ball. And I end up losing 5-4. And that's going to do it for today's video. A nice, long, hard-fought match between me and another Super 7, and all because of a dry break and what I thought was a defensive shot. I ended up losing this match 4-5. Now, that's going to wrap up all the matches that I have from our Fall 2020 session, and this match here was the only match that I did lose during that session. Now, all my next up-and-coming APA League matches come from the Spring 2021 session, and they are going to include some 9-ball matches, so I hope that you're looking forward to that. Now, with regards to this matchup here, just like how I always like to do, if you feel there's something different I could have done, or even my opponent could have done, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below with the timestamp of the shot and the advice that you want to give me or my opponent. And if you like what you saw, then please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and help me reach my next milestone of 75,000 subscribers. Take care, everybody.